Novi sir, it's difficult given the mental framework that the teams would be in. Manchester United players were in that city while the attack happened. How do the teams cope with that going into a game which is as important as it is to them?
No, I put it in a different perspective. In 1972 was the first time we had it at, the Palestinian and the Munich Olympics. And that was seen as a one-off. And then generally the bad reaction of that attack, for about 2-3 decades it was felt that, no major sporting event is ever going to be attacked. Now it's become a major danger, bigger than drugs. You saw in the Borussia Dortmund match with Monaco, there also there were bomb blasts. Well, it was for the bus. It wasn't like this. So this is going to spoil international sport, and you have to be mentally very tough. Also, both Manchester United and Ajax haven't achieved their goals in the league. Man U haven't qualified for the Champions League. Ajax came second. So I think the political pressure and this is going to put additional pressure on both teams.
So focusing a bit more on the game that lies ahead, it's a competition that is often afforded a step-brotherly treatment, if I could call it that. Yet for two teams which have been giants of football historically as well as modern day, tonight is a game as important as any looking ahead to the future.
Full credit to UEFA. I mean, I consider them the most progressive, proactive body in the world. Since 2015, they've reinvented the Europa League, and the winner gets to play the Champions League. So suddenly, as you rightly said, the step-brotherly treatment, the second tier competition is now assumes massive importance. And both teams, I was in Vienna 22 years earlier, watching Ajax Amsterdam beat AC Milan and win that Champions Trophy, and where Patrick Kluivert scored an extra time winning goal, and now his son could score, Justin Kluivert could play. And that time that Ajax team became superstars, Seedorf, Blin, so many others. Now it's a chance for this young Ajax team. So there's a lot at stake.
A lot at stake for Manchester United in particular. UEFA Champions League participation next year is on the line. Now if you look at it from a tactical perspective, one thing that Manchester United have struggled with over the course of this season are goals. They scored 54 in 38 games in the Premier League. That's not a great tally by any standards. And in this vital cup final, they have no Zlatan Ibrahimovic, of course. There's talk that Wayne Rooney might not start. Where do Man United find the goals? Marcus Rashford.
I think they have a young attack, whether he plays Lingard or Anthony Martial. And I think the match will hinge on how that young 17-year-old defender from Ajax, Dalit, how he can cope. Normally a 17-year-old would have been finishing school. He's playing a Europa League final against Marcus Rashford, who's in scintillating form. But if they had Zlatan Ibrahimovic, for me, Manchester United would have been favourites for their ability to handle big game situations better. Ajax could freeze, the youngsters could freeze. It's a fascinating attack. Amin Yunus, who's been called up by the German team for the Confederation Cup, Traore, Dolberg. If they get going, Manchester United would struggle. But if Manchester United can contain them, then their greater experience should see them through. Who knows, it could be Wayne Rooney's swan song, coming on as a substitute or penalties. I think it could be his last match for Manchester United.
How important is this game also, Novi sir, for Jose Mourinho? It's now been two dismal campaigns for a manager who for a decade had staked a claim to being the best in this generation. It's a vital game for him too. He must want to win this, of course.
Yes, giving it a perspective again, when we followed football in the 90s, if you won a trophy, he's won 2 trophies, the Community Shield and the League Cup. In the 90s, that would have been considered a success. Now the UEFA Champions League, because of the wealth that it generates, qualifying for the UEFA Champions League is like getting into paradise. So, that is paramount. So winning trophies now doesn't matter as much as the fact that it's a qualification to the Champions League. And Mourinho, you very rightly said, and because of Manchester United's stature, that if they don't win this and don't reach the Champions League again for another successive year, it will not be considered a great season, considering he had the money to buy a lot of players. But I think he's a bit unlucky. If Ibrahimovic had been playing on his home ground, they would have definitely been favourites.
Alright, so a big game ahead for Manchester United and for Ajax. Novy Kapadia, thank you so much for your time, Novi sir. He will join us again tomorrow to discuss how that final pans out.